Little like introduction to this. Like a love letter to Filipino food, it doesn't really sound like suffering, but I currently live in rural Georgia. But I grew up in North Jersey around and going to a Filipino Southern Baptist church. So I was always surrounded by my culture, but now I am not. And I feel like usually I write from a place of pain, like that's how it has been over the past few years. But it's like the first time I'm writing from a place of joy and remembrance, and it's different. But so this came out of that kind of a response to like where I'm living right now, because a lot of it has to do with resistance, like from the way I dress to like the food I present, like it feels like a resistance. So this is a love letter to Filipino food. Food is not just necessity, it's connection. One of my fondest memories from my time living in the Philippines is sitting around the big table for lunch with my relatives every weekday as me and my cousins walked to my apu's house for school break time. And everyone else was getting ready to pause their workday and join us for that big meal. A big spread of rice, sides, and ulam. Fruits from the market or the mango tree in the courtyard of my apu's house. This is where my love for tiltilan started. Sausawan for those who speak Tagalog. I grew up surrounded by Filipino food, but at first I didn't really want it. I was a crazy picky kid who didn't eat much substance, and sometimes I was forced to choke down the corned beef and rice on my plate because they're starving kids in Africa. Mm-hmm. My first trip to the Philippines, I remember being called matako mata, which translates to greedy eyes. Because there were things that looked and sounded good, but after I tried it, I didn't want to have anything to do with it. Oh, 7-year-old Andrew, you had no idea what you're missing. Then something changed. Maybe it started with that lady's choice sandwich spread on that sweet sliced bread. I don't know what it was, but all of a sudden, I was really into Filipino food. Not balut yet, not balut. That came later. Oh, and not salted egg. I still don't have a taste for that. But pretty much everything else was something I enjoyed. From the hearty, saucy meats off the bone to the canned delights. Along with my appetite came the fat shaming. Matako mata was not what I was called. Now everybody wanted to feed me. Family would say, "Hoy, Andrew, metapa ka? Andrew, you got fat." But boy, they loved to feed me. When I was 11, I moved to Masanto, Pampanga with my dad. I was blessed to have a parent who didn't regulate what I ate and drank. I mean, he was busy courting my now stepmom, but that's a story for another day. I tried anything and everything, but not balut yet. That was too advanced. So when I smelled that fried fish coming from the street outside, I'd run out to destroy some fish balls. My relatives told me never dip in the sauces, but I didn't care and I never got sick. There was the whole guy in the morning for breakfast, the donut kid in the afternoon for merienda. I enjoyed copying their calls, sometimes tricking my tita, who really thought the donut kid was right outside the house, telling me to grab some braided sugar, covered goodness for the fam. I believe that my love for the street food in the Philippines was the beginning of my big interest in street food wherever I visited later in life. So let's talk about street food. Top 3 in no particular order. Adidas. Ooh. I don't know what it is about them feet, but they good. It could be the marinade the way they're grilled, or the fact that I just enjoy cartilage. I was taught to clean my chicken bones, and I definitely clean these up. Next, we have kwek. Who didn't fish out the quail eggs from the tinfoil tray at the party with whatever meat or vegetable dish was in? Those little itlog in fried batter with the peppery vinegary dipping sauce. My first time trying the bright orange little nuggets, it was a revelation. I wanted to keep coming back for them. I could probably smash a lot of them now, but you know, high cholesterol is always working or lurking around the corner. And finally, there's green mango with bagoong. I remember rushing out of school and being so happy to see the manga cart. He'd have the mango cut in perfectly little bowls with a stick on one side for the hungry teens on their way to the line of tricycles, ready to take them home. You give him your pesos, he'd take a scoop or a stick and scoop a heaping spoonful of the salty, fishy, fermenty stuff perfectly in the mango bowl. The first bite of the crisp, sour mango combined with the bite of the bagoong, I dream of this taste of home. It's an emotional experience. The experience of Filipino food is so important to highlight. And the highlight of highlights for me had always been the lechon. The church celebration where everyone crowds around as Tito unboxes the perfectly brown 30-pounder, pulls out the cleaver and large cutting board and starts hacking away. He hands you a piece of the extra crunchy, almost break your teeth skin. As Tita opens the plastic container of sarsa, you dunk it and pop it in your mouth. Greasy, fatty, sweet, vinegary, covering all the flavor sensations in one bite. And that crunch, though, you hear it in the back of your head as you choose the tender pieces of meat to eat with a heaping pile of rice on your paper plate. Tito asks you if you want more skin. Of course, man, always. So let's talk about pork now. So many colorful ways the pig is used in Filipino dishes. I go with pork adobo and pork sinigang over any other. My apu's sinigang made with the fresh green sampalok that she got from her early morning market run with her yaya. The asim was on another level. The perfect bite of tender meat and gristle off the bone with some vegetables on top of the rice. And don't forget the patis. Is it only Kapampangans that love extra sodium?
No. No.
Longanisa, especially the garlicky round kind, Bicol Express, sisig, titad, that's what we call dinuguan. Baboy, the major cause of high blood pressure, high cholesterol, and gout.
Yes.
But also one of the greatest reasons for joy for Filipinos. At least that's what I believe. First time I experienced crispy pata, I was like, wait, there's another level of this fried pork game after lechon kawali? Crispy on the outside, moist juice meat on the inside, and all the delicious bits that come off the bone, dipped in the salsa and came over. When I realized that Koreans appreciated pork as much as we do, it made me a little more pleased to be living there. All right, sorry for all the savory. As a kid, I wanted to eat just sweets. I still enjoy a well-made pastry now and then, but I'm never tempted by them, like my brothers are. But for all of you sweet tooths out there, let's do a top 4. I tried a top 5, but it didn't work out. I only got 4. But again, in no particular order. First, I'm gonna have to go with ensaymada, with the ube or without. The large ones heated up for 20 seconds in the microwave with some coffee. Feel me?
Yes.
Then we'll go with the fluorescent green of buko panda. Matako Mata was not really into gulaman. Kind of a recent development. But pandan overall, when it's done right, it's a fantastic dessert flavor. Buka pandan has so much going on, but it all just works. Tibok tibok is an underrated Kapampangan sweet, like maja blanca, but without the corn. Silky smooth and creamy. The latik on top adds an extra layer of flavor. But I have to say that my all-time favorite Filipino sweet is cassava. I asked my stepmom to make it whenever we visit Jersey. When I saw that they had cassava at the only Filipino spot 50 miles within our, like by our house, I had to have it. Ah. All right, sorry. The layers of flavor and the consistency of the baked shredded cassava with the custard topping, that's the stuff. But I'm sad to say that I wasn't a good ambassador of our food to my American school friends. I would tell them not to eat the food on the table because it was weird. Then go on to ask my dad to make us grilled cheese. My dad made me a solid grilled cheese sandwich, but it's a shame that I hid such a big part of who I am. These were the same friends that would say that I smelled like fried food. Well, then this bungos ain't for you. I wonder why, or I wonder if this is why, after so many years of being present in the US, that our food is finally being recognized. We assimilated fast and we assimilated well. But shout out to those who've always represented and grew up being unashamed of the different looking and smelling food in their baon. I'm sorry to say that I was late to be late in the game, but I'm very much here now. Know that my daughter is growing up with more than the Uncrustables and chicken nuggets she gets from school. I'm educating her like my parents did for me. But I'll make sure she stays proud of having flavor. Shout out to those who are representing the next generation of Filipino food, taking their Lola's recipes and mixing it up. You gotta make it work, like our parents Americanizing their accents. It's not always easy to understand. Trying to do it for the culture, but just make sure to do it good. And not just the ube, which is the gateway flavor. We need to move past that a little bit. We need to move past it a little bit. Let's invite people to experience all of what we have to offer, because there's a lot. So along with your adobo, pancit, and lumpia, let's feed them the laing, caldereta, and kare-kare. I'm gonna close with a quote from Doreen G. Fernandez. She wrote the book, The Gim. Food, like language, is living culture, and as such, changes with the times. The old ways are tested and true. The new ways are not necessarily betrayals if they're appropriate and result in good food. Feel free to make Filipino recipes your own. Just make sure you save a plate for me at the table if it's good. Thanks.
Well, we thank you for that. I'm so happy that I was eating a red ribbon empanada here while listening. And yeah, it's our time to share any reflections, responses, or questions with Andrew to what he shared.
Just a quick comment. I'm glad you didn't have a PowerPoint presentation with all the food because I would be starving. But thank you. Food brings us certain emotions, and I felt joy, curiosity, and just comfort. I feel like when you describe food, I felt the love of your family. So thank you for sharing that.
Andrew, I loved how you're able to talk about, your experience in Korea and, some of the commonalities, some of the things that you saw between Filipino culture and Korean. And I think particularly because I'm of Korean and Filipino heritage, that really speaks to me. And reminds me too that when I went to the Philippines, I saw all you can eat Korean barbecue at like all the malls and a lot of pork dishes there. And just curious if you could speak a little bit more from your own personal experience, one living in Korea, but just the ways that food kind of brings those cultures together. If there, anything that comes to mind.
I think one thing that really resounded with me living in Korea was the family aspect of the table. So like here we have our separate plates and we eat from them. In Korea, you have this big thing and you have these little plates, but you're just all like you're serving people, but at the end you're all picking from the same. And that was huge for me. Like here, from going from individuality to common table. But yeah, the pork. I mean, the way they would use pork is different. So that was the whole like textures. Everything was so different. I could write about that too. But I was amazed. I was like, yes, more pork. And so like when I came back, I rarely eat pork in the US. I rarely have pork. So when I do, I savor it. I have to have as much as I could. But it's so like loved there. And that's what I appreciate. Thank you. Or we'll go around. Go first. Yeah.
Okay.
Mhm.
Just want to say like two things. First is just want to say that I know you had like misgivings on like what does it have to do with suffering. It's so incredible hearing your piece because it's like it has everything to do with suffering. Like even from the beginning, it's like you had to suffer with your own body changing because the love for the food was literally changing your body. So you had to suffer with the fact that like you had to change in order to love the thing, like to love the thing that you were putting in your body had to change. Also, I also wrote health and wellness. Like I was reminded of like my dad and my brother-in-law, or like every time they eat lechon, they're like, "Is this worth the gout for the next week I'm gonna have?" And, like, I know that's comical, but also they're just like,
Yeah.
like, do I put this act of love in my body and suffer the pain that I'm going to have? It's almost that it's almost operatic. We're just like, I'm gonna suffer for a week just to enjoy this thing for 5 minutes. And there's a certain weird beauty to that. And then I think another one was the whole recognition and representation. It's suffering to be known and recognized. That I even remember like growing up, like I was teased being Asian American, but they called me chop suey. When I was in elementary school. And the one thing that offended me was just like, could you at least use a Filipino dish to make fun of me? But now like, like that recognition that our Filipino is actually coming in to Filipino American culture. There's so much that has to do with suffering, and I just love your piece. And then the second thing really quick is if you were staying longer, I would absolutely take you to Dollar Hits, bro. Oh my gosh, you need to have Dollar Hits. When you're doing the whole Filipino street food, I was like, I can take you like 15 minutes down the street and get it right now. So good, man.
Also in karaoke
Oh, and karaoke.
at 9 p.m.
Oh,
Yeah, the
Karaoke
Tita
starts.
sings karaoke all night.
Nice.
It's so awesome.
Friday today.
Yeah, sure. I'll go. Late night after your house. Don't tempt me. Tempt me. I'm gonna go.
We did that 2 years ago.
Huh?
Oh, where?
We went to Dollar Hits, yeah.
Yeah. You gotta come. What are you doing tonight?
We'll see.
I just wanted to say three things. So I'm Chinese American and my parents are both immigrants, but instead of saying hello, they always said, "Have you eaten?"
That's how it is in Korea too.
It is really a huge thing for Chinese people too. And my mother would share stories of how they fled her entire village fled during World War II to hide in the caves because of the invasion of the Japanese army.
Hmm.
So even to heat up, light a fire to heat up rice,
Hmm.
that was threatening to your life. So food is just so important
Mhm.
to so many people. So too, I wanted to share that it's very common to me, and I really empathize when you shared about when you were in elementary school. Because whenever you're a minority, most of my schoolmates were African American. I was in South Central LA, and you just want to fit in. So that is so common when I look back. I mean, I would not want to bring out, you just want spam or
Yeah.
bologna. I mean, that tastes awful to me now, but there's such a well, spam is okay, but bologna. Anyway, I'll just say that is just so common when the majority of your classmates are gonna make fun of you, and all you want to do is fit in. So when I look back, I think that's just a kindness that we need to extend to ourselves as we're growing up. And I know with my parents, they did the best they could. They're just surviving
Mhm.
as immigrants, so they couldn't really help us, and 35 cents was a big deal for them to pay for a school lunch, to have, spaghetti, overcooked peas, and, like chocolate pudding with a crust on the top because it's been sitting out for so long. But that was a huge treat for us, once a year or twice a year. The third thing is, I really do feel like food is so much love. When I was an undergrad so many years ago at UC Berkeley, one of our requirements is in Asian American Studies, we had to do our field work with a group other than our own. So we chose to go to Delano, and the Manongs there, we helped build. I mean, it probably was pretty lousy and things like that. We did our best, and we were young and full of energy in those days. And how could they repay us? It was by cooking, cooking for us. And that's what they did. So it was their thank you and love. So thank you for your piece, because it really is such an emotional, like you said, living culture.
Yeah, I mean, I envy the kids who got school lunch,
Yeah.
but I didn't get Filipino food. I got some weird sandwiches, but talk about that another time. But my sister, my niece, she was raised bringing bao, and she was raised to like look down upon American food, just like, oh, that tastes nasty. My sister's food she's by far my favorite cook, and so she was taught, yeah, this is good food, that is not good food.
Yeah.
So, I appreciate that. I wanna do the same, but we have free lunch, so we're happy now. Someday. Anyone else?
Yeah.
Yeah, go for it.
It's cool that you're repping Pampanga, the culinary capital of the Philippines. So many creative dishes came out of Pampanga, and also has interesting story of suffering, like sisig. They're like scraps,
Oh, yeah.
pork scraps. And Pangans did something amazing with it. Like it's resistance. It's like flipping the colonizers. Oh, these are scraps. We'll make something better.
Mhm.
So could you share like how have you gone into this journey of like learning stories behind certain dishes, and yeah, just share any like memories of you finding out the origins of like certain Kapampangan dishes.
Hey, it's just everything is word of mouth. But if you really want to learn stuff, Takim is, I haven't finished it, but it inspired me a lot. I don't know if it's easy to find though. I have a digital copy, like PDF. Someone gave it to me. If you want it, it's a really thorough book, and it's very well. It's like essays on on different Filipino dishes and all the history. If I want to, I could probably do more research. This is more like my personal experience, but what you said made me think about Korea again, because like I'm a cross-cultural studies major, and so like I lived in Korea for 8 years, and when I went there, like I immediately was looking at culture, and then I realized that spam is huge there because of the US military, and it's huge in the Philippines because of the US military. And so I thought about it too. I was like, we got spam, we got corned beef, we got this and that. Koreans got spam, they got canned corn, they have baked beans, but they made something like they made their own dishes with it. Like that spoke a lot to me. I don't know a lot of history, and that's something I probably could do better at. But Tikim is a good place to start, I
Mhm.
would say.
Have you tried balot already?
Oh yeah. Story. Do you want a story? Yeah, I was gonna write this, but it's too much. I tried balut for the first time in South Korea. There's a like small East Asian community, or Southeast Asian community. There's like a Thai grocery store slash restaurant. And my Vietnamese friend and my British friend, they're all about like food. So, oh, they have balut there. So I was like, all right, we're doing this. I mean, we got a white British guy and a Vietnamese guy that says it's good. Okay, we're gonna do it now. And then, but ever since then, because whenever they would pull it out and like, where did you get that in the US? Like, they'd have it on the table. I'm like, where did you get that from? I don't want to try this. But yeah, for some reason, like eating with other people who were very adventurous, like I really wanted to try it. And so the first time I took my wife to the Philippines, I was like, I heard the balut, and I was like, okay. My wife, I was like, let's go. You got to try it now. And she did it right there on the spot. I'm proud of her. She's here. So.
Oh, nice.
But yeah, I did try balut in South Korea. It's delicious. It's like deep chicken soup. That's how I can describe it. Very flavorful chicken soup. All right,
I'll ask one question.
go for it.
Given how much food means to a lot of people, what does it mean to you that food can be a ministry to people as they suffer? I'm thinking about how you shared your current distance from a lot of Filipino communities and not having access to that all the time. But I'm also thinking of our churches where people are suffering, but food can really be a ministry. So I would just love if you can help us imagine that and what's possible.
I think the table, yeah, just eating at the table with someone, just sharing food together is seeing each other face to face and chatting like casually instead of having intense conversation, just like one-on-one coffee shop intense conversation. Like when there's food in front of you, you can enjoy it, it can be casual, and some people just need that for healing. Like, yeah, people don't realize that. Like you need that to just sit down casually and just enjoy something together. And I think that's a big like healing thing for people. And that's very much what I saw in Korea. Like sharing food was so huge and so important. And I feel like that's Filipino hospitality in general. Like I think I know that my church growing up, the hospitality was big, but they knew the people who were suffering the most. So they would just be like, to go, like all the to go would go to the certain people because they're like, yeah, this person's having a rough time right now.
Yeah.
So they like every time we would have a meal, it's like extra plates for these people, just to make them feel good. And I think, yeah, the Western church could learn from like just having a potluck instead of like a formal worship service. Sometimes that'd be good, you know?
Yeah.
Just just have it, sit around the table and chat, and like that really speaks a lot to me. Like when I think about communion, I think about the table and sharing it with people. I don't really think about the formal stuff, and breaking bread to me is a whole feast, and you're sharing it together.
The last questions for Andrew. Let's thank Andrew again.